Your lesson today is going to be about TypeScript. We are going to make an equation solver web page. First of all, make sure you visit this site, PyScript.net, and if you click on install, just copy and paste this HTML code and paste it in the head section of your web page. As you can see, I have already done with the UI. I have used a Bootstrap library which you can download from bootswatch.com. If you visit bootswatch.com and click theme, click United, and here you can download the CSS library. So I have used this library to make this UI of our web application. So I have simply copied that library in the CSS folder of my project, and here I am referring to that library, as you can see. As for the body goes, I have created a div element. You know, HTML tags may have attributes, and attributes come in name value pairs. So the first div element has a class attribute, and the value is container. So the name is the class, which is the attribute, and the value is the container. So this is the name value pair of this attribute. So we have a row. I have used the Bootstrap layout, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, as you can see. In the first row I have 3 columns, and in each column I have put a text typed input element. And what is very important is to specify the ID attribute. So here is the ID attribute, as you can see. This is the name and value pair of the ID attribute of this input element. This uniquely identifies this HTML element. So also in this input element and also in this input element, also in the second row we have 1 column, and this strong element also has an ID attribute. Name is message, MSG for short, and in the third column we have these anchor elements. The third row we also have 3 columns, and in each column we have an anchor element with an ID attribute. So X, X1, X2. Last but not least, in the 4th row we have two columns. In the first column we have a button. It also has an ID attribute. It is very important. ID is the name and run is the value. And last but not least, we have this PyScript onClick attribute, and the value is solve. So this is going to be the onClick event of this button. So actually we are going to code the onClick event of this button in PyScript. So PyScript simply enables you to manipulate the DOM using Python. So Python is by far the most popular programming language these days for the time being. It's among the top 5 and is actually number 1. It is a multi-purpose programming language which can easily integrate it with other languages like C, C++, or Java. Okay, so first of all we should declare the variables. So we need to have a variable for this for the HTML items I have just mentioned. So one for txt_a, txt_b, txt_c, one for the message, one for x, x1, x2. That's it. So let's declare these variables. So let's say txt_a in JavaScript, you know, we have been using JavaScript for years to manipulate the DOM. The DOM is the producer of your web page. So just like in JavaScript, you can use the method called getElementById. It's very similar in Python. So txt_a is equal to element, and here we are going to specify the ID, so that's txt_a. Okay, so we have another one for txt_b. We need another one for txt_c. We also need one for the message, so let's call it message. You can call your variables any name actually, so okay, and we also need one for x, x1, x2. So let's call it result x. Result x1, result for x1. And last but not least, result for x2. Okay, and now we can define the function which is going to be carried out actually when the user click on this button. Okay, so let's use the def keyword. The name of the function is obviously solve. It is because the PyScript onClick attribute, that's the name, and the value of it is solve. So this should match the name of the function. And we are going to use two parameters. Okay, so this web page, as you can see, is going to solve the quadratic equation. This is a quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So first we should check out if a is equal to 0, because if a is equal to 0, the equation is not quadratic. So x is equal to minus c divided by b. So let's use the if function. If so x, which is the first we should declare three variables for a, b, and c. So let's call them a, b, and c very simply. Okay, so a is equal to we should use the int function. Int. It is because when the user types in a number, when the user assigns a number to a, as you can see on the user interface, assign a value to a, type here, that is going to be a string value. So we should convert string to int. So that's why we are using the int function. So int, and now we are going to use our variable called txta, and we add the value property. So we are going to do the same. The same goes for B and C, so we can use copy and paste and simply change B, C, C. Okay, so far so good. Now comes the if function. So if a is equal to 0, now you have to use the double equal sign, because this is not an assignment operator. This is a comparison operator, because it compares if it compares a to 0 in value. So if a is equal to 0, x is equal to minus c divided by b, and now we can output a message. So we have this variable called message. We are going to add the right function to it. And simply let's say, I don't know, for example, this equation is not quadratic. X is equal to, and we are going to concatenate our variable x, but we should convert x to a string, because in Python you can only concatenate a string to a string. So we are going to use the plus operator now. It can also be used for concatenations. So we are going to use the string method x. That's it. Okay. Another thing we should check out, if b squared minus 4ac is if we should check out if b squared minus 4ac is less than 0, because if it is less than 0, the equation has no result. So we can use the aleph keyword. So let's say b squared 2. Now we should use the double asterisk symbol. That is the exponent. It's an arithmetic operator. The operation is the exponent, and the symbol is this double asterisk. So b squared minus 4ac is less than 0. We should output the message, so use the message variable, the right method, and let's say this equation has no result. Okay, and last but not least, if a is not equal to 0 and b squared minus 4ac is not less than 0, so the else, we should use the else keyword now. So in that case we should actually solve the equation, the quadratic equation. So in that case it has two results, x1 and x2. So x1 is equal to minus b plus or minus, because the formula is minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. That's the formula. So first x1 is when minus b plus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So that's the first case. So b squared minus 4ac, and we use the exponent operator again, so the double asterisk, because when you return the square root of a number, you actually return the value of that number to the power of half, so 0.5, and this should be divided by 2a. And we can copy and paste this, because all we have to change is, of course, we should change x1 to x2 and b minus plus to minus. And last but not least, we should output the results. So we have a variable called result x1, sorry, it is result x1, yes. Let's use the right method, and let's say x1, and also result x2. We have this variable result x2, right x2. So let's check if it works. Now let's see what if a is equal to 0. So let's say 0, 1, 2. This equation is not quadratic. X is equal to minus 2. That is true, actually. Let's clear. Now let's say, what if b squared minus 4ac is less than 0? So we should type a bigger number. We should assign a bigger number to a, for example 10, 2, 4. This equation has no result. So far so good. And let's see if it works for the quadratic equation. It is working just fine. So minus 1 is equal to minus 0.5, and x2 is equal to minus 1. Okay, that's good. We could actually output x here, because we have, so we don't have to concatenate. Yeah, we don't have to concatenate. So you can do this. Let's do it. Okay, so let's say like this, and result x, right x. That's it. So let's give another try. So 0, 2, 3. Yeah, it's okay. This equation is not quadratic. X is equal to minus 1.5. Okay, so 2, 3, 1. x1 is equal to minus 0.5. x2 is equal to minus 1. That's okay. And this equation has no results. Okay, so it's working just fine. Thank you for watching.